Are you unfamiliar with the curse of Oyashiro-sama? Of course you're not. This is chapter 5. it's ridiculous. Gotta retread these deaths every single chapter. I don't think the bit about the illness is true, but his death was very sudden. The priest was busy preparing for the festival, and he'd gotten sick around that time, so I guess he died of a heart attack or something. But it's just crazy that somebody died on the day of watching Higurashi again. It's the third time in a row. It's unbelievable that so many people have died on the exact same day. The coroner didn't find anything unusual about the cause of death, so nobody suspected that anything was wrong. But you're right that the whole situation is abnormal. Only the people who were likely to be cursed died on the day of the festival. There must be something behind this. Whether it's a conspiracy or a curse, there has to be. I decided to meet up with Mion at the library near the Okinomiya train station. It's not that I don't trust Mion, but I don't want to let her know where I live. Not many people use this library, so I won't see anyone from Hinamizawa there. It's very convenient for meeting someone in secret. After we discussed my life plan and work schedule, we moved to small talk. I've been away from this town for years. Things have changed. I asked Mion about those changes in detail in order to fill in the gaps. While talking about various things, I brought up what Uncle Yoshiro had told me about Oyashiro-sama's curse. Even before I left town, the curse had already struck twice. The dismemberment murder on the first year left quite an impact. And the year after, the pro-dam activist couple fell off the cliff on the day the villagers were enjoying their first Watanagashi festival since the dam project was indefinitely frozen. This one also left quite the impact. The evil construction site manager was punished, and the next year, the traitor to the village met the same fate. If it had happened only once, people would have concluded that it was just a bizarre coincidence. But when it happened 2 years in a row, people were far more likely to believe it was a curse. I know up to that part, and after I left town, the curse struck again for the third time. People talked about the curse more intensely than ever, both in Hinamizawa and Okinomiya. I have to rethink this. Oyashiro-sama's curse has drastically gained credibility while I was away. It was still unclear with the first two incidents, but after it continued for 3 years straight, people's doubts changed to convictions. Even though the priest who died on the third year wasn't an enemy of the villagers, the fact that people in Hinamizawa didn't care for him much added even more credibility to the idea. Wasn't the priest hated by a few? Especially by the committee members? Yeah, they criticized him for being a fence-sitter. Toward the end of the dam conflict, the protesters were all taking aggressive stances, so they didn't like how soft he was being. The priest had looked strict and scary. The way he spoke was always so formal. But in reality, he was very warm and reserved. Maybe it was because he was a son-in-law, having married into his family. I'm sure the priest and his personality were the perfect fit for managing the shrine that was used for summer festivals and village meetings. But that gathering spot style atmosphere of the shrine changed completely when the dam war broke out, and it became the headquarters for the Onigafuchi Guardians. Prior to the dam protests, hardly anyone worshipped Oyashiro-sama. Of course, the devout elders paid worship to him, but the average person treated our god like how you'd treat fortune-telling. Once the dam protests began, Oyashiro-sama was suddenly hauled out as the symbol of the village's resistance, tracing the Oyashiro-sama faith back to its roots. It was an exclusive, elitist faith that believed its members were descended from a holy ancestor, different from the masses at the foot of the mountain, and that those tainted masses would never come near the village. Of course, such self-centered ideology wasn't acceptable anymore in peaceful post-war Japan, so this doctrine was abandoned over time. Still, that idea remained, and they trudged it back up to fan the flames of nationalism and unite the town against the dam project. With the revival of those ideas, things only grew more radical by the day, and it didn't take very long for the Onigafuchi Guardians to become aggressive. After that, we were in a state of war. 100 million, burning as one, kill the white savages, want naught but victory. Adults and kids were both gnawing at the bit, avid to repel the foreign invaders. Describing it like that makes it sound kind of awful, like a reminder of the dark times of wartime Japan. But like I said before, for us kids it felt less like a war and more like a village-wide festival. Yet, despite calling it a festival, dissenters were treated coldly. Their heartlessness lived up to the expression wartime regime. The Hojo couple who voiced their acceptance of their dam project in the midst of that atmosphere were truly brave. Then, on the second year of the curse, they died in an accident, and everyone believed it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, without question. So they were branded traitors and enemies of the village. The Hojo couple faced worse than just being ostracized as traitors. Everyone gave them the cold shoulder and talked behind their backs. The only person who didn't treat them badly was the priest. While the priest never objected to the anti-dam movement, he also never objected to the Hojo couple's advocacy for accepting the government's eviction and restitution to rebuild new lives. Those unforgivable Hojos became a slogan as the three families, especially the Sonozakis, united the village by turning them into scapegoats. So they must have found it very shameful to have a fellow member of the three families approve of that, especially when it was the priest of the shrine that had become a symbol for the dam protests. Oh my god. So much exposition. And I wouldn't mind if we didn't tread over stuff like this in basically every single chapter. Every single one. As central figures in Hinamizawa, the three families were the backbones of the Onigafuchi Guardians, so a difference of opinion was undesirable, and the priest was never accused of anything. But secretly, people whispered that he was a heretic, that he was unfit to serve as Oyashiro-sama's priest, that Oyashiro-sama's curse would soon strike him down, along with other rumors. Don't you think the priest was more mature than those around him? He was pretty cool, managing to keep his head and remain neutral, while everyone around him grew fervent. I thought Mion would share my opinion when I chimed back in. So when Mion gave me a forced smile and didn't agree with me, I was taken by surprise. If he were really mature, I think he would have cooperated with the others. He should have appeased them. He wasn't just the head priest, he was also the head of the Furude family. That was a time when all of Hinamizawa needed to be united, so having one of the families, who are supposed to serve as examples, disturb that harmony was... I don't know if that should be called mature. It's hard for me to tell. I was taken aback. I barely managed to say the following. Even though we're identical twins, we still had our own unique identities. Every now and then, our opinions differed, but usually only over some trivial matter. We've never had a difference of opinion this big. It wasn't an enjoyable feeling. I decided to probe her some more. I don't really like that word you used, appease. What are you trying to say? Are you saying the priest should have thought of the village as a whole and kept his opinions a secret? Meaning people shouldn't assert the self before the whole? I'm not going that far. It's just, I thought that as a member of the three families, you should have acted more carefully. That's what I mean. Mion faltered a bit as my tone grew more like a cross-examination. I realized I was speaking a bit too harshly. What Mion expressed was probably the more mature opinion on our scale. When everyone needs to work together to stand up to a vast enemy like the government, people should refrain from actions that would destabilize that alliance. Writing it out and reading it now, I can understand that. But I wasn't mature enough to agree to such a totalitarian idea. Or maybe it wasn't me at all. It was Mion who'd made that mature judgment. We've been separated for over a year. I've been away from the town. In the meantime, Mion has been training to take over the headship of the Sonozaki family. She'd been treated as such even before I was confined to that institution. She sat next to the hag in ceremonies and in meetings. She took her place when the hag was absent. And that was just it. We were never that different. Mion has become very like a successor since I've been gone. Uh-huh. You sound like a grown-up now. She seemed to get what I was implying. Am I thinking like Granny now? That's good. You're the successor. You shouldn't think like the rest. You've definitely learned the art of ruling. I never learned anything like that. I'm just trying to act like her. You can do it easily too. I don't want to. It's your role. Well, don't try too hard or you'll tire yourself out. I didn't mean to be cold, but Mion seemed to take it that way. She smiled as if trying to pacify me. I smiled gently back at her. Sis? I mean, Mion. What? What is it? Our separation has always been tough. Our names, the places we live, and our bodies. Mion looked down with a serious face, but then looked right back up. Maybe you think I'm jealous of that, but I'm not. We used to have some disagreements, but they were always small and forgettable. You don't have to feel sorry for anything. Up until birth, we were perfectly equal. Right after birth, we were separated by the grown-ups' priorities. I used to get mad about it when I was little. There's no denying that. But we don't have to start a disagreement over it. Mion seems to understand what I'm trying to say. We each have our own characteristics, even though we're identical twins. Only we know the differences. We're also dependent on each other because of them. Mion seems more dependent. She always worries about me. If somebody gave her a cookie, she'd divide it in two and give one half to me. If somebody gave her a candy, she'd wait until I said it was okay to eat it. On the contrary, I'm cold. I don't care about others if I'm satisfied. I'd put the candy in my mouth right away. I have to emphasize that I don't hate her, and I'm well aware that she loves me. We both know that. Mion must have been hesitating to put the candy of the successor in her mouth and was waiting to see if I was okay with that. Do your best, Mion. I'll do my best as Shion, too. I tapped her forehead with my fist lightly. Mion put her forehead against my fist as if trying to feel the warmth. She's Mion, and I'm Shion. She's the successor of the Sonozaki family, and I'm just a vagabond. That isn't a distinction, but rather our individuality. We shouldn't worry too much about the other anymore. We should feel relaxed, living as who we are, with our own characteristics. I didn't have to say any of that out loud. We can communicate by touch, just like this. Okay. Thanks, Shion. No worries, Mion. Let's talk to each other whenever we want to, like we've always been. That'll never change, okay? Okay. Okay. Mion kept nodding, with her forehead against my fist. I said goodbye to Mion before it turned to evening. We had talked about the things that happened during my time away, and I enjoyed having that chat between sisters very much. We were able to dissolve our unsettled emotions. We didn't used to do that. Maybe it's because we hadn't seen each other for over a year. Phew. It was late afternoon. My heart felt lighter now. I stretched and looked up at the sky. The sky was clear, blue, and far away. No matter how tall I grow, I'll never be able to touch that sky. I'm Shion Sonozaki, a girl who escaped from the life she was forced to live. Nobody will praise me for what I did and for what I'm going to do. But this is what I chose. Aha! I can think maturely too. I psyched myself up. I should go shopping for dinner. Though I have Kazai's help, I need to save money. I love junk food, but it'd be cheaper to cook. Ironically, the culinary classes from that evil school will come in handy. Why not go to the shopping district in Kamiishiki? If I'm going there, then I'd need to take the other street. The cool breeze in the late afternoon felt nice on my skin. Kazai came to the door while I was putting stuff I bought into the fridge. Wait a sec. I'm coming.
Did you go grocery shopping? You must be tired.
I don't get tired from grocery shopping. Oh, do you want dinner? I bought enough for you too.
Is that alright? If you say so, I'd be happy to.
Kazai looked curious about what I'd cook. You don't look like you believe in my cooking skills. You'll pay for that later.
Are you putting these in the refrigerator? I'll do it.
Oh, thanks. Is this amount of rice enough for two? Here I go. Kazai skillfully packed food in the fridge while glancing at each item in turn. He noticed something.
Shion-san, do you still hate canned food?
I hadn't bought any. That was, of course, on purpose.
Must be hard to avoid it.
I know it's illogical. Maybe I could eat it if somebody forced me to. No, on second thought, I definitely couldn't.
I feel really sorry. I know I was out of line then. Please, forget about that story.
Shut up! Men shouldn't hang around in the kitchen. Go watch TV or something. Kazai chuckled and left. I know this sounds stupid, but I hate canned food. If somebody told me there was canned food in a meal I just ate, I'd throw up. It started with a silly thing. Kazai told me a horror story when I was little. You know, one of those urban legends about meat made from an unknown source. Like those rumors about how there's worm meat mixed into burger patties or dog meat in beef bowls. Kazai had fun telling me one of those stories because of how scared I got. He had fun, but I obviously didn't. I even started to cry in the canned food section of a supermarket. That's how much I hated it. I don't freak out like that anymore, but I still don't like canned food. Since I don't like it, I don't force myself, and I now live my life naturally avoiding canned food. One of the big differences between us twins is that Mion doesn't have this issue. Kazai feels responsible for this, but he can't rid me of that fear. Still, a flaw like this is actually a good thing, otherwise I'd be too perfect. Kazai, set the table, would you?
It smells good. Thank you for doing this.
If this isn't enough food, you can go to a beef bowl place later or something. And don't turn off the TV. I hate having dinner in silence.
Thank you for the meal.
So, what is it, Kazai? You came here for something, didn't you? I handed him a cup of tea. I could wait until dinner was over, but I wanted to get to the point quick.
I thought I should wait until we finished, but would you mind if I talked while eating?
It's been bugging me since you got here. It'd be much easier for me to eat if you started talking now.
We received a phone call from the school today.
Today? That's late. Sounds like they didn't want to make it public. So, what happened?
Akane-san took the call. She said she was going to tell your father when the time is right.
Akane-san is my mom. That's what Kazai calls her, as he's known her since before her marriage. So, what did she say? I was lucky she answered the phone, since she's relatively on my side.
Other than calling you a brat, she didn't seem surprised by this outcome.
I see. So she hasn't told Dad yet?
She's probably waiting for the right moment. I think she's going to in a couple of days.
Dad is on Grandma's side, so he'll definitely talk to her if he hears about it. Then she'll have her men bring me to her, and depending on my explanation, make me offer a finger or two. Scary!
I wish she could laugh it off, but please remember you're not the only one who... Ouch!
You're eating too fast. I cooked too much rice and miso soup, so you'll have to have another round. At least 3 helpings, alright? A few days later, Mion told me that the hag had heard about my escape. So, how did she take it? She was furious. She said that if you were in Okinomiya, she'd get you right away. Scary. And? Is Dad doing anything? They'll hold a family council soon to see if any of the family members are hiding you. It doesn't look like she'll have the greenhorns search for you all over town, though. Holding a family council means that things will remain in the hag's hands alone. She won't search the town for me. It's like she's unofficially approving my presence. Of course, I'll get caught immediately if they find me in a large public place. Seems like Mom did a lot to help me. I can tell she's being supportive. It's a long story, but my mom is sort of an outlaw, even though she's out of the Sonozaki bloodline. A long time ago, she had a huge fight with the hag because she hated the family rules and traditions. She was even excommunicated. My mom was supposed to be the successor, but she was deprived of the title and Sis took her place instead. While she's quiet now, Mom's still an outlaw. She's always been on my side because I also hate rules and traditions. Dad was flaring up at first, but Mom pacified him. He can't win against her after all. Okay, thanks. Let me know if something comes up. If things really go bad, I'm ready to leave town. I can't let Kazai, Uncle Yoshiro, or Mom lose face. Sis, I know what you're thinking. You're asking yourself why only I have to go through this, even though we're twins, aren't you? Mion was silent. That meant yes. It isn't fair that only you have to live like this. It's absolutely not. Thanks. I appreciate your feelings. Tell me when you want to go out. I'll arrange my plans so that I can trade places with you. She sounded apologetic. I shouldn't go quiet or agree with her. She sticks to things a little too much. Once she goes down, she'll stay there for a while. So I just told her simply, thanks. That's really nice of you. Okay, I'm hanging up now. Talk to you later. Oh, it's really weird seeing Mion and Shion get along with each other. Because they do not like things next year. A year from now, things have completely deteriorated. Absolutely gone. Sadako was crying while hiding behind my back. She's been crying while clinging on to me, so my back was wet with her tears and snot. My aunt had been screaming hysterically, but she looked tired now. I suddenly realized that it was already past 1 in the morning. She vomited out a series of screams one last time, then finally called it quits. Sadako seemed exhausted. She was looking down in a state of shock. Even after my aunt walked away, she didn't realize she had been freed. So, I stroked her head and told her, "It's over, Sadako." Sadako twitched. Her eyes grew bright again, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked up at my face. She knew it was over. but wanted to hear it directly from me. She begged me with a look. To be honest, I was really exhausted too, so I felt a bit annoyed when she tried to make me say it. But I needed to pacify her, so I gently told her what she wanted to hear. She's done with her scolding, so let's go to sleep, alright? Sadako clung to me while her tears continued to fall. She was crying again silently. Sadako was shivering pitifully. Her small back reminded me that there was nobody else to protect her. Here, go brush your teeth, make your bed, and go to sleep. Sadako smiled faintly and nodded. I felt dizzy. As I was released from the strain, a harsh drowsiness fell upon me. While Sadako was washing her face, I went to the toilet. I zoned out while watching my pee. In my dizziness, I almost missed the shot. I felt like I was being sucked into the toilet. I couldn't even remember what caused it. Why did my aunt start screaming today? Damn, that's some heavy abuse. That is just a continuation of that very, very sad story.